Fans, welcome to Working Fans Podcast. We have a special interview for you tonight. We are interviewing author Vinny Berry. Let me play our intro video real quick, and we'll bring him in and the man they call Dave to talk his amazing new book.
Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
Fans, tonight we welcome a very special guest. You know him when we talked to him last year about his book, Lance by Chance. This year, he's back with a new book, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 1. We are here with the great Vinny Berry. Vinny, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me on.
Vinny, like Joe said, one of the last times we talked to you, you were in the thick of it with Lance by Chance. The book was just coming out. How was that experience overall for you?
You know, that experience was really, really well. It was my first book, first time to write a book, first time to, produce it and market it. And, we did really well. We did so well that my wife gave me the green light for number 2. So, yeah, it was definitely a learning process, but, coming out and doing, podcasts such as yours. And I've gone to some live shows, after the restrictions lifted a little bit, went out some live shows, and still there's people out there that haven't heard of it. But I was talking to a guy in California that he heard of the book, but he didn't know it was me. He's going to have me on his show for the new book. And I asked him if he had heard of this one or the Lance book. And he said that he did. But he didn't put 2 and 2 together. And so, there's still people finding out about it, but it's good. I just have a feeling that it's gonna, it's still moving, I'm still selling copies of it too. So, just not like I was in the very beginning, but yeah, it's still moving out the door.
Now, what lessons did you learn from the book? Like, what did you take away from that whole process of writing, marketing, and selling the book?
Well, you have to be on top of it. You have to, it can't be, it's like a full-time job. You have to do A, B, and C, and D. There's a lot of following through with it. I've learned that formatting a book sucks, and it's not as easy as people make it out to be. I've had some people help me with that process, but I love writing, and I've been writing for a long time. Since I was a kid, right? It's just now I'm putting my work out there. So, it's one thing that I've learned is to slow. I've really had to kind of slow the process. Like last year, I got the books, Lance books. Next day, I'm marketing, right? This year, I got the books. I waited about 2 or 3 weeks before I started that process, so I got things in order, and I have to watch myself. I have to kind of slow my roll a little bit, but I want to everything, everything. I'm like that with everything. If it's ice
Yeah,
cream,
you
dude,
get
I'm like that
excited. You
too.
know the book is out, and you just want to start selling it. You want to
Right.
see reactions. You want to hear people, and we get that through the podcast. We'll put an interview out, and like the next day, we want opinions. We want likes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to market it. You got to sit with it almost like a good soup and let it really season itself. And at the right time, it'll pop off like it should.
Vinny, it's almost like the old wrestlers, you know, they always say, slow it down in the ring, right? Slow it
Right.
down, right? It's kind of like, it's a great life lesson, I feel like sometimes, right? Just let's ease into this.
Right. You're right. It is a good life lesson. I'm still working on it, but I'm getting better. I promise.
Now, I was messaging you when I heard the Lance book get brought up on the Booking the Territory podcast. And Lance Peterson was even saying that he read the book. And to me, that was wild to think that somebody that we talked to, that we knew that wrote a book, got to see it on that big a podcast platform. It must have been good for you to see that too and get that recognition.
You know what I liked is that I was skeptical of those guys to read the book, because
Yeah.
I know, you know, the websites or the Facebook pages that they I guess favor or visit and I visit them too, but
Super
I know
critical of Lance.
yeah, they're super critical of Lance, and they know, you know, it's like those Facebook pages know everything about the Von Erichs, you know, and so whatever you put out, they're going to either argue or debate or whatever. And you know what? They appreciated the book, and they thought I was spot on with a lot of stuff. And, you know, I mean, that was the whole idea, right? I mean, I didn't want to put out something that people were going to, you know, I mean, it wasn't just one person telling me the story. You know, I verified, you know, I talked to about 11 people, you know, the young bloods, Mark Lawrence, David Manning. He was a really, really good source. And, you know, Steve Casey, a bunch of people. And so, you know, when we got this thing, all this information together and put it out there, you know, if I had 3 people saying one car was blue and one car was red and one car was, you know, that car was green, I didn't write about that car, if you know what I'm saying. I just took that story out, because if it didn't match up, but if 2 people said it was blue and one guy said it was like a light gray, you know, we went with it, you know, and that was the whole premise of the book, you know. And I got conflicting stories left and right, and there was stuff I wanted to write about, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable writing about this because I don't want to put out BS. And, you know, people who've read the book, they're pretty, you know, a lot of people are surprised by the book, and I was very proud of the book. And if you want the Lance Von Erich book, it's at lancebychance.com, and you can still get a signed copy by Lance Von Erich himself.
There you go. Hey, actually, one more question. This is maybe about that book and your current book, The Wrestling Vault. I'm just kind of curious, because you had mentioned COVID. Did that end up giving you any issues or anything you had to deal with either book? You know, because of the timing and everything in the middle there.
Yeah, it hit right in the middle between the books.
Well, I think because of COVID, I was able to finish the book. You know, because I had like about 6 or 7 weeks that I was stuck, you know, and I couldn't go to work, you know. So, you know, I just told my wife, I said, you know what, I'm just going to write this book. And I pretty much finished it before I went back to work. And then we're just cleaning it all summer, you know, I just sending it to somebody else and reading it, somebody else, and we're just cleaning. So we did that process all summer, but it was pretty much written before I went back to work. So that 2 months off from work really, really helped. Going to live events, you know, that was a problem, because, you know, I wanted to get out in the public and, you know, amongst our people, right, you know, amongst wrestling fans, because when you go to a wrestling show, that's where they're all at. So, you know, I wanted to get out there, and, I was able to do that a little bit this year. I went to about, I think, four or five wrestling events.
Nice.
But I've got to drive. I live on the bottom of the state of Texas, so San Antonio is about 3.5, 4 hours. Corpus Christi is about 2.5 hours. Dallas is about 8 hours.
Wow.
It's not an easy drive for me. And they have some shows down here where I am, but they're few and far between.
Yeah. Now, Vinny, I don't want to cut you off about that Lance by Chance book, but I've had the Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1 book for, I'd say, a couple weeks now. And I told you second day I got it that I could not put it down. 35 short stories in this book. You got 3 stories from NWA champions, Tim Storm, Harley Race, Mike Rapata. 5 NWA junior heavyweight champions, Eric Andrews, Mr. USA, Chase Owens, Ricky Morton, Barrett Brown. There's so much to say about this book, but you sweeten the pot so much more when every book comes with a surprise signature from one of 11 wrestlers featured. How are you doing this, bud? You went all out for this. And this book, this should be in everybody's Christmas stocking this Christmas, in my opinion. It is so good to, when you get a wrestling book, you usually get one story. In this, you get a bunch of different stories, bunch of different viewpoints. I love it. How did you decide to write this book?
Well, I appreciate you complimenting it the way that you did. I'm really proud of this book. I felt good about putting it together as I was doing it. That this wasn't the book I was going to do. I'm not going to tell the whole story because, but I wanted to write a story about different promotions across the United States that were affected by COVID, right? But I was talking to my friend John Paul LeBlanc, who most of the pictures in the book belong to him. He's a photographer in the Gulf Coast of the country here, and he said, well, you should take that story idea and do it down here in the Gulf Coast. And the story just kind of stalled. It just really wasn't going anywhere. And I decided to take the stories from my website, put them in the book. John told me to put the pictures in the book. So, it was kind of, he wanted to put Gulf Coast in the title. And I felt like if we did that, it was going to pigeonhole the book and it was going to mislead some people, because there were some people I was talking to when I told them, oh yeah, it's called Gulf Coast and da-da-da. And they were like, oh man, yeah, because I want to learn more about this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. And I was like, hey, those guys aren't in the book. So we kind of had a postponement and we changed the title. We called it the Pro Wrestling Vault. And we put 35 short stories in there. I went through his pictures. I selected what I wanted to put in there. I got lost going through his pictures. He has over 10,000 pictures. I mean,
there's a great picture section in this book. There's a variety of promotions. I remember you had asked me what I thought about the picture section, and I was just checking it out that night. But the more I look at it, the more it's nice that you have stories, pictures. You really give a face to the stories you're telling and some of the promotions you're talking about.
And the pictures themselves, because I'm a photographer myself. I'm a photojournalist. I tell stories with pictures every single day. So when I was putting those pictures in, those pictures were talking to me. I mean, I look at those pictures and I see the story of the night. Or some of the pages have 2 pages. Some of the events, there's like WrestleCades. There's a couple big wrestling events that have 2 pages. You go through there and you see everybody who's on there or who was there, and it's pretty neat. I was talking to another fella the other night. What he liked about those pictures was he was going online and going back to 2016, 2014, whatever, to see who else was on those cards. And he was like, man, these were amazing events, and so, he thought it was like a reference, like the book was a reference book, I mean, you've got these stories. What's really beautiful about this book, which I really didn't see until down the line, is that these stories, a lot of these stories were taken from 2017. And what happened in 2017 or 2000, what was it, 2018 or 2017? Yeah, it was the NWA was sold. So there's an interview with Tim Storm in here right before he lost the title to Nick Aldis, and there's a interview in here with Bruce Thorpe a few months after he sold the company to Billy Corgan. So it chronicles the NWA really well. A lot of people, NWA fans, like the book because there's a lot of pages that kind of honor former world champions. You've got Jazz is in here, John Saxton, the junior heavyweight champion. There's a picture of him, Rob Conway, Tim Storm. And I tried to do that because I was fortunate enough for my friend to cover a lot of these events and cover a lot of these athletes. And so, it was all there, putting all this stuff together. That's why we wanted to call it the Pro Wrestling Vault, because, until you open it, you don't know what's in it, and the surprise autograph is just a bonus, because who am I going to get when I open the book? Whoa, man, C.W. Anderson, or, Damian Wayne, Tim Storm, it's pretty neat deal.
Yeah. Do you want to give us a quick list of the names of possible people that could be featured in the books?
Yeah, if my memory serves me right. I
Give
know
us
it's
as many as you can, because I got a follow-up question to this as well.
All right. Well, we got Bobby Fulton, Tim Storm, Damian Wayne, C.W. Anderson, Josh Lewis, Drop Dead Dale Wild, Mr. USA, and that's about 8. But there's
That's
5
not
more.
bad. I got the Tim Storm the autograph, and I was over the moon about it. Now, you got volume 1 in that title. That implies a volume 2. Is that already on the horizon, or are you still thinking that up?
I think volume 2 is going to be, it should be out about this time next year. I'm already working on it, and it's about halfway. I've got some stories that I'm still writing for that. So, that's always, finding time to do that and put it together. But I've already started inserting the stories, selecting pictures, and it's probably 85% written. I've got like 3 or 4 stories to write for that, and two might be a little lengthy.
And that's good, because having it that far in advance, you got all that time to edit and really give yourself time to get the book ready.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, Vinny, I got to ask, give us the hard sell on this book. Let the people know why they need it in their stocking this Christmas.
Well, I think it's a treat. I like this book for this reason. And you know what? It's not just one person. I've gotten so many compliments about this book. Is like, they're telling me they like the book so much because it's not the same old wrestling book that they're seeing. I didn't recreate the wheel here. Compilation books have been forever, right? But I haven't seen one in wrestling for a while. And when I was putting this book together, it was like, what is it that I want to see? And this is, hey, if you're if you commute, if you ride on a bus back and forth to work, you can read 2 or 3 of these stories, get off the bus, go to work, come back, read 2 or 3 more of the stories, get lost in the pictures. You know, the who's who of wrestling is in this book. There's pictures of almost anybody you can think of. And I think the interview of Bill Dundee that is in this is in
I
this book.
read that today, and that was so good. There's so much knowledge in that short interview that it doesn't feel like a short 2-page thing. Like, I feel like I listened to him talk for minutes about his honest opinions on the business.
Probably one of the best interviews I've conducted in my 20-year career of interviewing people. Probably.
That's amazing. Now, Vinny, let the people know where they can buy the book, and let us know anything else we need to know before we let you go for the night.
All right. Well, you can get the book and order the book at lancebychance.com. Every book comes with a surprise signature. That is until supplies last. Also, too, I don't know if I mentioned Bobby Fulton. Yeah, I did. I did mention Bobby Fulton, but Bobby Fulton's in there. Chris Michaels is in there as well. Tim Storm. And there's a Chris Michaels right there, if you can see. There's Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne, that guy's been wrestling for 20 years, been a 3-time national NWA champion. The dude is tougher than a $2 steak. And great dude. And I'm going to have him on my podcast here probably after the turn of the year. But he was really, really appreciative to be a part of this project. He wanted to, he was so thrilled that I wanted to put him in the book. Josh Lewis was thrilled that I want to put him in the book. And what I think people are going to get when they read this book is they're going to get a little piece of everybody. Chaz Taylor. Chaz Taylor shares a story with about, I'm sorry.
Tugboat Taylor.
Well, he talks about his dad, Tugboat Taylor, but he also talks about Owen Hart, and he talks about how that affected him. And, Sir Mo tells the story about how he helped Nelson, who was Mabel, live on a straight life, and how they wanted to help other people, avoid life of crime and stuff like that, and so, I think people are going to get a little bit of each of these people that are featured in the book. They're going to walk away like they felt like they know these guys a little bit better, and they're going to see all these different pictures and discover a lot of wrestlers on the independent scene that have been grinding it out on the independent scene for years that haven't got the exposure that they really deserve, And one of my I was talking to somebody else, and they were saying, yeah, I'm the people I didn't know. I was going online, I was looking at them, and I was looking at them on YouTube, and I've been hearing that, they're like, wow, you're writing about people that nobody else writes about. And those are the compliments that they're giving me, that they're good. They're, I guess they're glad to see, other wrestlers out there get a little spotlight on them, and I'm glad to do it because I love wrestling so much. I'm not able to do it. Right. So I respect the fact that these people can, and I think they deserve their time in the sun as well.
100%. Now we all do it for our love of the business. Vinny, thank you for joining us, and everybody go out to Wrestleville.com and buy the Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1.